A very good morning to one and all who has joined us here today for the kickoff call for Nx EVOS Hackathon. My name is Rico Banerjee, and I take care of events here at Hackers. So today's call is all about what the jury members are getting out of your submission as part of this hackathon. What are the best practices that you can follow? And of course, at the end of the session, if you have any query, feel free to drop your questions in the Q&A section on the Zoom session, and we'll be happy to take it up. So without further ado, let me quickly introduce you to our speaker for the day. We have Dr. Maurits Kaptein, who is the Chief Data Scientist at Network Optix. Maurice has numerous scientific publications to his name and has an extensive background in data science, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. He has been awarded for his doctoral research by both Eindhoven University of Technology and Singapore Management University. So that is just about 10% of what Maurice has achieved so far in his decades of experience. So I'm going to hand over the panel to Maurice right now and take a backseat. So Maurice, the panel is all yours, and thank you for joining us here today.
Well, Nico, thanks so much. Thanks for the glowing introduction. Very nice. Thanks everyone for joining. I hope you're all here and are able to jump in with questions anytime. Some of you might follow this like asynchronously, like look at this talk or this recorded talk before they start their submissions. Feel free to reach out anytime. What I'm gonna try to do is just a bit of a walkthrough today of what Network Optix is, what we do as a company, why we're doing this hackathon, and what we hope to see kind of in some of the submissions, and a few pointers just on how to contact us and how to move forward, basically. I hope that's somewhat inspiring, somewhat fun. I hope we'll get a lot of good submissions. Like we've already seen a lot of pretty cool ideas come in, so I don't know who's here and who's already submitted ideas, but I was already quite excited about some of the stuff that's coming in. So now very excited to see this unfold. I'm just going to share my screen. I'm on a single PC, so it's a bit tight on a single screen, but if I'm correct, you guys are now looking at this one slide, and I still see some of the chat and stuff, so this should all be working. Well, again, welcome. I'm just going to flip through these slides to give a bit of context on where we are and what we're trying to do as a company and what we're trying to achieve with the hackathon. Again, like feel free to interrupt or like post questions in the chat. We'll hold some of them. I hope to have like 25, maybe max 30 minutes of talking, and I think we have the whole hour also for some interaction. So any questions are more than welcome. Bit of an outline. So I'm going to do a bit of background about Network Optix. So Network Optix is over a decade old. I've personally not been at Network Optix for over a decade. We joined a while ago when Network Optix actually acquired a company that I founded. So we've now been part of Network Optix for some time. But I'll do a bit more of the history. Then I'll talk a bit about like the vision of where Network Optix aims to go, because like the idea for this whole hackathon and actually like asking you guys to contribute some of these ideas and build some of them really comes from where we want to go as a company. If you've like Googled us as a company, you might have seen that we're active, for example, in the security space, providing a video management system for security cameras, which then, might or might not sound as exciting as you would like for a hackathon. But I think where we actually are aiming to go as a company and the tools that we have and provide like greatly expand beyond like security applications, beyond potentially even video applications. So we really want to take you along on that journey and hope to get some interesting ideas and some interesting solutions in that space. And I'll talk a bit about what we call the Nx Toolkit, which is basically our suite of developer tools, which are the tools you will be using in this hackathon, or at least we hope you will be using in this hackathon to actually put together a video application. And then I'll revisit a bit of the goals. Obviously, like all of this is documented on the Hacker Earth pages, and you're able to find all of the links and stuff there as well. We'll make sure that these slides get shared as well to you guys as well, or like are findable. But I'll talk a bit about the aims, why we're doing this, and how do we evaluate in the end the proposals, because obviously like, despite the fact that everyone I hope is going to contribute amazing applications, there's going to be some ranking at some point. So just knowing what you're ranked on, some pointers to resources, and a bit of like more administrative, like how do we like to work as judges as well? So hopefully that works, and kind of how do we communicate and how do we set things up? Let me start by just Network Optix or NX and providing a short introduction. And kind of what I'm going to try to do is just go from like history to where we are now to where we aim to go. And again, the hackathon is really set up to like take us to where we aim to go and like provide more inspiration there. So starting with some history, Network Optix was actually started as this freeware media player. Like, oh, we saw this emergence of all of these different types of like movie formats and media formats, basically, and getting some of that under control was one of the first things that was played with by the original founders of Network Optix. And quite quickly that like moved in, and as you see here, like it's around 2011, it's over a decade old. This much broader idea of having enterprise video as a service, basically a platform for combining all kinds of video content, video streams, and allowing people to use that. Sorry, there was a bit of an echo there. So that's, in some ways, that's how the company really got rolling. Like the first funding came in, basically, and started building this platform for managing all of these video streams. Now, that turned into basically what's called a VMS, so a video management system, predominantly focused for the security market. So I guess all of you have seen like these kind of interfaces where a security company might have like 20 or 100 security cameras around the building or around the construction site. How do you manage all these streams coming in? How do you manage connections to a variety of different cameras with different formats? Like, oh, there's different standards there. How do you record all of these streams? And that's kind of like where Network Optix kind of evolved as one of the first markets to monetize some of the basically technical backend of being able to deal with video at a large scale. Now, from starting at VMS, I think where we are now, and we're moving beyond that, but where we're now is that we are one of the world's leading security video management systems. And in part, that's because we white label, or sometimes like people will be using our technology and you won't even be seeing it. Basically, people that are using security tools will, like at various points in time, use our backends, where backend I'm kind of contriving a bit, or use our client software or software to access all of these camera streams, even without you as a user necessarily knowing. We're powering a lot of video streams and the management of a lot of video streams worldwide. So that's where we are kind of in the security space. So we started out with this like larger vision of just how do you deal with video in general, build a system there. And then our first go-to-market as a company was within the security world, and we really grew there. By now, we've grown beyond security, so there's definitely a lot of companies that use cameras, camera streams, and our software to manage these camera streams for purposes that are totally outside of security. But right now, just to get some feel for the scale of things, and this is already starting to get a bit older, millions of video streams are under our control in some ways, in the sense that our software is being used to manage them, which also means like, oh, the software is really designed to not just be like your first proof of concept of how you deal with video, but really like a large scale, how do you scale video applications all across the world? And that's where we have all of the expertise, and that's where our tooling comes from. So we have a relatively global presence. You can see some places that we definitely want to extend. Obviously, Northern America is where we started, a lot in Europe, a lot in Australia, Asia is where we're going into. That's just our presence around the world. We have offices in various places around the world as well. Currently, I'm at our Amsterdam office. I'm looking behind whether I can show you anything of Amsterdam, but I don't think there's really anything that you're immediately going to recognize. But that's where we are now as a company. So started, how do we do video, to being, in some ways, one of the leading technical software providers in the security space for managing video cameras. Now, where do we actually want to go? And this is, I think, an interesting thing to consider even from our founding story, basically. It has always been this idea that, oh, video can power way more than just security applications, basically. We can have this notion of what we started calling an enterprise video operating system. Anything you can monitor, like one way that I think about it is if you think about, for example, running a restaurant. If you have a restaurant and you have somebody that's smart and willing to like go along, he or she can see like, oh, this next table needs to be catered to. Oh, we need to order like new water bottles, or like all of the operations in this restaurant can be managed by somebody who's smart and looking at things. Well, if somebody is smart and looking at things, then some of these things we might be able to kind of replace with video cameras, potentially artificial intelligence, because obviously that's where we're going in this story, and basically build an operating system for that restaurant in kind of a general sense of the word that monitors all of its operations, basically. And as long as you have video and additional processing under control, this is a place where you can go. So that's the vision where we're basically heading. And the way we're thinking about this is like this whole market of video plus AI, because a lot of these security applications initially were actual people looking at these video streams, basically. Then obviously we started seeing things like, oh, show me a stream when there's movement. So it's simple movement detection. By now, that field has evolved to run AI models on these streams continuously, like surface all of the cameras with people on them, count all of the cars that are coming by, all of these things, like all of these applications we're obviously involved in already. But if you think about like video plus AI, in some ways, a camera plus some software being a fully generic sensor that can be used to see like, oh, is this water bottle, like, is it almost finished? Or are the tires wearing out on my truck? Or like anything really that you can see as a trained person, you can build with video plus AI. Well, that means that we can start building the technology to empower developers to build all of these applications that are built on video plus AI and are intended to scale across thousands and thousands of sites. Why? Because we already know how to do with video. We know how to do with AI on the edge, and we know how to scale applications from a single proof of concept to thousands and thousands running in the field. And we're really trying to provide you guys with all of the tools that we've used to do this once to build new applications. So that's our vision. That's where we're trying to go. And we're kind of approaching this in two ways. So on one hand, we have for developers, which is, for all of you guys joining the hackathon, it's a set of tools that we provide you to build on our kind of base layer architecture. And we'll dig into some of those tools in a second. On the other end, for organizations or for enterprises, what we call run on EVOS, so it's running on our enterprise video operating system. It means that if a company buys something that's built on EVOS, they know its skills, they know it's done well, they know that we're participating with them, and that we build on this rich experience of providing large-scale video solutions. So that's kind of where we started. In some ways, where we started was this like enterprise video as a service. Then we moved into the security world predominantly to basically gain the experience of being in a specific vertical, grow that, and we've been extremely successful in growing that as a company. And what we're doing now, and what we're also trying to do with this hackathon, is taking one step back and providing some of our technology stack as tools for others to build applications on. And if I really dumb it down, in this hackathon, we're inviting you guys to build applications on our stack. So that's where we are. And how do we do this? So that's what we started calling Nx Toolkit. So Nx Toolkit, that's the developer tools that we've built for EVOS, for the enterprise video operating system. So this is what you can, like all the tools that you can use and that we encourage you to use in this hackathon. And to be honest, like we have different layers of abstraction. So you can, in some ways, you can start building your own plugins to our stack in C++, but we also have like much higher layers of abstraction where you can just configure an AI video solution by simply selecting a model. Like there's all of these layers of abstraction. We'll try to take you through a few of them. In the end, though, I think as a participant on the hackathon, try to think first about like functionality, where do you want to go? And then think about the architecture, look at all of the tools that I'm going to talk through in a second. Look at all of the tools, think about your like very high level architecture, and then shoot it by some of the judges. Like, is this a way of actually building this given all of the tooling you have? And we should be able to quite quickly iterate and like give some pointers of how to best set things up given all of the tools that are there. But so the Nx Toolkit, that's kind of the videos, the SDK on top of Network Optix EVOS, so on top of our operating system. Just to iterate, I've spoiled some of the content of this slide already, but why would you use the Nx Toolkit? I think one of the main things, and that's kind of here on the left, which people really underestimate, like the first time they build like some video plus AI solution, like, oh, if you have it running on your laptop with some webcam and you can like recognize something cool that is like has business value, that's very far away from actually like doing this in the field. So suppose you just have a webcam that's recognizing, for example, these dangerous goods symbols that are on the side of like freight containers. And you can actually do this well. And you can show like, oh, here's a container, an image of a container, and there's this specific content in the container. If you actually want to monetize that, you're going to have cameras like on sites in harbors or like at distribution centers. And there's going to be multiple cameras that you're going to have to connecting to, and you have to do all the networking, and you're going to like bundle all of that data that's coming out of that together. And if somebody like at some point wants to actually look at some of those specific images, you have to start like recording all of these things in a smart way and being able to index them. So actually scaling from the first idea to a large application that's running in the field, let alone that you're monetizing as well, because now you have to think about like, how do you actually license this? How are you going to invoice this? That's a big step. And with Nx Toolkit, we're giving you all of these tools. We're giving you tools to connect to a variety of cameras. We're giving you tools to store all of these streams. We're giving you tools to run your models on the edge, even to decrease your computation costs, to reduce the need for pushing everything to the cloud. And we're giving you tools to licensing all of your applications. The licensing bit's not something we're necessarily going to go into much in the hackathon. It's much more the first few bits, but it just like get some feel for why we're building this, like, and why we're providing this to people so they can build applications and scale them across the world. Now, that's the one on the left. I think there's also just like kind of inherent trickiness in taking the core of what we're calling a video pipeline. I have a slide about this in a second, and to moving that into an application and moving it to edge devices that you see, like ruggedized edge devices that you would be able to like install in the harbor and these kind of things. So there's more complexity there, and it's just overall hard to scale vision solutions. So that's why we have the toolkit, and those are the tools that you can use. What are some of its features? Just very high level. I've touched on some of them, but basically the ability to connect to video streams, the ability to run AI models on different hardware. So moving, for example, from GPU acceleration to NPU acceleration, we have a bunch of tools to actually like do this as well, which makes it you can like look for like cost-efficient hardware to run a specific AI model that's operating on an AI, like on a video stream. So that's as deep as we're already going. Visualizing, providing alerts, events, like allowing people to like have a pop-up on their mobile phone when a specific event happens in a specific video stream. All of these kind of things are actually in there. Building pipelines end-to-end, building things device specifically, doing video decoding device specifically, adding metadata to video. So adding, for example, bounding boxes for visualizations, doing that like in a highly efficient way. Connecting to the cloud, managing multiple instances of your installations, over-the-air management of your whole application, and in the end, licensing and digital rights monetization. So all of these parts are included in the larger Nx Toolkit. And some of these you might be interacting with your hackathon, some of these you might not, but just to get a feel of what we're really trying to put out there to the community to build applications. Here's a bit of an overview of the actual components and some of their names. And this is kind of like, if you're thinking about this as on the on site. So let's get back to this like container monitoring example again. So on site, you might have a camera and like an edge processing device that's recording potentially this video and sending out like the dangerous goods that have been qualified, like symbols that have been qualified on the container. How would this work? Well, what we have running on the edge device is what we're calling the Nx Media Server. This is the basic like workhorse on the edge that connects to video sources, can store video sources locally, can decode some of these video streams, and really just makes it easy to integrate with any IP camera that's out there. On the edge device, you might also be running what we're calling the Nx AI Manager, which is a plugin to the Nx Media Server that allows you to run specific AI models. It goes to a point where you can train your own model in using various training tools and just import them into your Nx AI manager. So if you've created your own vision model, you can actually import it and distribute it to all of these edge devices. Then on the edge device, there's also a number of data SDKs, which basically means that any data that's coming out of your AI models or like events that you're generating, bounding boxes that you're generating, can be pushed to the media server and higher upstream. Then if you move from the edge device to kind of the larger application surrounding it, what we have is Nx Client. That's a desktop client to connect to multiple servers and the data that is generated by these servers. Nx Mobile, well, it's on your mobile phone. And Nx Web, I think it's kind of obvious. That's like the web access. So basically, all of these are kind of interaction layers for the larger application. Nx Client, fully open, you can build anything and really like shape it whatever way, shape, or form you want. And this is like, these are the bits where you're interacting with the user and actually providing some of the value. And then higher up, we have cloud and fleet management, and we have Nx Connect, where Nx connects it really for the licensing and like managing larger systems. You might not be touching on these, but you'll definitely be touching on these bits in kind of creating your application. I hope you guys see my mouse pointer, by the way, because otherwise I'm just doing this and nothing shows up, but I see some thumbs up. Cool. So that's the components of our toolkit. Just to also kind of like relate that to what I would call is like the vision plus AI pipeline. So if you're thinking about this, again, like take this container example, you would have a camera that's pointed at a container. There might be some pre-processing, for example, decoding the video stream. Well, all of that's going to be done like with Nx server. Then you might be running an AI model to recognize this dangerous goods like symbol. That's going to be managed like using the Nx AI manager. Again, that's this plugin for running these AI models. And maybe like if a specific type of good comes in, you want to raise an alarm, or you want to like, store that image, or whatever like your use case makes. Well, that's the metadata SDK to kind of like get some of that data and add some of that data potentially to the video streams. And then when you get to the actual application, visualizing things, doing business rules, you get into the realm of the Nx Client, Nx Mobile, Nx Web. So just kind of stacking where some of those tools come in for your actual development. That's it for like where we aim to go as a company. So from being like, leading software provider in the VMS space for security, allowing other people to build video plus AI solutions on top of our stack. And then I try to like explain a bit what the components of our toolkit are. So which like tools you have at your disposal to actually build these applications. Now let's get into why we're doing this hackathon. And to be honest, the way I look at it, it's twofold. One is what we're trying to learn with this hackathon is new applications, like surprise us with new applications. I'll go through a few that we've been involved in, but like surprise us with new applications where video plus AI actually provide value. The other one, which is in some ways much more internal, is for ourselves to learn, like, is our toolkit usable? Is our documentation usable? What are people missing in some of these use cases? We want to be as active as possible in developing this and making it as useful as possible. So, I just see a comment coming, but we'll respond to that in a second. If I can, sorry, I'm a bit of a mess now on my screen. So let me dig into the hackathon details. I hope this introduction at the very least was clear. So we have a clear goal of where as a company we're going and kind of what components there are in the toolkit. Now let's go into the actual details of the hackathon. So for the hackathon, we want you to build a fully operational like enterprise video application on top of all the tools that we're giving you. And I have these three like images here just to give you a bit of the kind of breadth of the types of things that we have already ourselves been involved in. So we've had a Dutch startup basically building a video system for monitoring beehives and for seeing how many bees were flying into the beehive, how many bees were flying out of the beehive, how active these things are. They were actually selling these beehives to large corporations as a way of contributing like to the larger environment and showing like large scale visualizations in kind of the office wall of how active some of these things were. Very cool application, just to see like how some of these things work. It's obviously like cameras, bee recognition model, also thinking about like how do you do the actual networking? How do you make sure that you can do this at a low hardware cost? And like there's a lot of bits involved, but it's a very cool application. Very different application that we've actually done for Sappi, like it's a large world scale paper manufacturer. What they like, the process of paper manufacturing means like, oh, you start with a tree, you grind up the tree, and then you like, oh, mush it up, and then you squash it into paper. Grinding up the tree means that you have to take the bark off from the tree. So they had a bunch of cameras installed to see how much bark was taking out of a tree. It's basically like a big centrifuge that's taking out like this bark of the tree. If there's too much bark on the tree left, then the paper is of low quality. If there's too little, well, then you've wasted a lot of good wood. So basically, they built an enterprise video application to monitor how much bark was like gone from the tree and to see if it should pass on to the next stage. So this is very different, like very big industrial environment, but also a place where video plus AI can actually streamline business processes. Last one, City of Amsterdam, right here, trying to monitor basically a bunch of outdoor soccer and sport fields for various reasons, seeing if they need maintenance, seeing how often they're actually used, and seeing if there's any littering there. So basically what they want is cameras installed that, you know, nobody's actually looking at these camera streams, but they do want like an alert when there's too much littering. They want to understand whether at some locations they should expand their sporting facilities, and they want to know whether there's any maintenance that needs to be done, basically. So they want to monitor, like smart monitor all of these fields, basically out in the field. Here again, you have to think about like what hardware are you actually using? How do you provide value? How do you provide an interface for the local government to actually like take some of these actions? But these are just like outside of the security world, a bunch of different applications of video plus AI, like enterprise video application. So we invite you to build not one of these, but to build something in this direction. Like, and feel free to like move anywhere, like whatever problem you think can be solved by building on these tools, please go ahead, like propose it, ask the judges how to do it. Like we're happy to help. We're really looking for, you know, new inspirational ideas of where to go. And as you're implementing them, feel free to ask questions, give feedback on where you are, give feedback on our tools, and like help us grow this ecosystem, basically. So for the evaluation side, I mean, it's always good to know what you're building up to. Like, we're really hoping for people to provide like just a GitHub repository, or at least all the materials in one place, basically, so we can see all of this. We would like to have applications that work start to end. And in the end, what we want is a way to set up your application. So a detailed like description of how to actually set it up. A project overview, so why have you built this and what is kind of the business value of what you're doing. Manual of how to actually use the application. And in the end, and I think this is one of the important things, like a good like video snippet of actually demonstrating how your application works. These videos we might use for, you know, other purposes to inspire people to see what kind of things they could build, basically. So what we're really looking for is contributions, new applications, the rationale behind these applications, and a way for us to actually set them up and use them in demos, even here in our office, like be able to show some of these very cool applications that people have built on top of our stack. I hope that's clear. I see there's a bunch of questions. We'll get to the questions in a few minutes because I'm always done with my slides. Good thing to know is resources. The hackathon, like the Hacker Earth pages, provides all of these, but like we'll make sure to share these slides. There's a bunch more pointers to things. I think the easiest place to start if you want to do like an AI plus video application is this one. There's a separate like docs page basically built for the hackathon, where there's just like, oh, where do you get all of these components and how do you get going? On the other hand, like, depending on, just getting back to that earlier statement, depending on like the level at which you're building things, like, are you just going to be doing front end, or are you going to do like a low level plugin? There's documentation for all of these kind of things, basically. So it will be, it's a big stack. Like, there's a lot of tools out there. You might need some help like navigating, but here's at least a bunch of pointers to all the things that are at your disposal. Then we also have a bunch of example video streams, and we can even provide you access to some remote devices. So if you're thinking about specific edge devices with like an NVIDIA GPU or an Halo NPU, or like, you know, there's some of these things around, we actually have a number of these edge devices that we can make remotely available to you that you can test, basically, just to make your case that your hardware and software match are good for your application. And just, you know, I don't know how to make nice looking slides. So I took some screenshots of web pages. There you go. This is the AI Manager plugin documentation. This is our GitHub pages with a bunch of example projects as well. So like, use the tools that are out there, I would say. Then just wrapping up, getting to the mentors, Ichiro, Robin, who's over there, Lodewijk, who's, I don't know, at home probably, and Maurits, myself, will be mentoring. There might be other people helping out as well, because if all is correct, I just saw a comment come in, but if all is correct, you should all be able to like access us in this public Slack channel, where this public Slack channel is Nx-EVOS-Hackathon-2024. In that channel, you can ask, like, please, like, do well first questions, like do a bit of an introduction. What exactly are you looking for? We'll try to reply in threads. We're going to be using Slack just asynchronously. So there might be different people responding to your Slack thread or multiple people jumping in. There's definitely like differences in the different judges as to what their experience, like what their experiences, what their expertises are. It's a big stack. We all have our different focuses within that stack. So really, I think like one of the main things we hope to just use is Slack to help you guys out, both from like the ideation process to the actual implementation process. Slack's going to be async. Judges are all around the world, to be honest. So people are in different time zones. Expose your question. Make sure the question is as detailed as you can be, like it's clear. We'll reply in thread and like make sure that those questions are also available for all of the other people, obviously, because some of you might have the same questions. So we're really intending to just use Slack as this async mechanism to provide answers to your questions. On top of that, like there's specific mentoring slots that have been contributed that some of us are attending to the Slack. Those are also times that maybe we can like hop on a quick huddle or call or whatever, like to provide some additional background. But really, like we're hoping to be able to facilitate you through these Slack channels. That's it, Q&A. So that's where you can reach us, and that was also my my last slide here. So maybe we should take it back to the hackathon organization and see what came in the Q&A. Happy to take any questions. Here we go.
Yeah.
Stop sharing this
Yeah.
one at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Maurits. Yeah, sorry. I think I lost my power for just about 10 seconds. I just forgot that my laptop was not connected to the power source at all, and it just really ran out of battery. So I just plugged right back in. I think I just missed the past couple of minutes. So I'm assuming that we are now done with the session and we have already moved on to the Q&A. So just a quick note to everyone here. I see some of you have raised your hands. If you have any further queries, drop them in the Q&A section and we'd be happy to take up. And Maurice, I think you can already see some of the questions that we have in the Q&A panel. It's right at the center of your screen. So I think one of the question is about team communication. So I'm gonna quickly go ahead and answer that myself. So if you have formed a team, I think we got a question regarding how they can contact their teammates. So the answer is, if you have formed your team with a random teammate and if you're not connected to them directly, just reach out to them over the Slack channel that you're a part of and you should be good to go. Other than that, in case you're not able to reach out to them over Slack as well, just drop a quick email to support@hackathon.com. I'm gonna drop the email ID right here in the chat section, and you should be good to go. Our support team will get back to you with the email ID of your teammate. Hope that answers your queries. Other than that, I think I'm gonna get about 25 more questions about the recording of this session. So just to clear that out, don't worry, we're gonna share the recording of this session with you real soon after this session. So you'll have the recording of this session along with PPT. So don't worry about that at all. So with that being said, I think I'm going to hand over the panel once again to Maurice to take up all the questions that are right here in the Q&A panel.
Yeah, it's kind of looking at the panel. Is there anything new coming in? Any language barrier for the hackathon? Like I think our main language is going to be English, so I think that's where we are. So if that's a challenge, then it will be a challenge. Sorry, I can't make it any more beautiful, but yeah. So that's where we are language-wise. I hope that answers the question. I just did answer live. I guess I just answered it live. Okay, how can I connect to my teammate? That was just answered, I think. Slack. Where is the Slack application available? I presume people are getting invited to this thread, no?
Yes, and also the Slack link is right there on the Hackathon microsite. So if you go to the overview section and scroll down just a little bit, you can see a big button that says join us on Slack. I know that the link was not working for some of you up till this morning, so we have fixed that. We have updated the link, so you can just go ahead and join the Slack channel.
Okay, then some more content-wise questions, I think. Like, does Nx tools, like, does our toolkit include any tools for model training? No, we do not. But it's a fair question, and like we at this point in time, like consciously do not, because there's many different ways in which you can train models, retrain models, even get trained models from like the ONNX zoo, or like some of these YOLO models you can just get pre-trained. We do actually integrate with a number of training platforms. So at a very like super easy just classification model, you might, for example, think about Google Teachable Machine. If you Google Teachable Machine, you'll find like super easy way of making initial classification models. We integrate with action pools, for example, if you're training your models there. So what we're basically trying to do right now is integrate with a number of common training platforms, or if you use TensorFlow, PyTorch, as long as you can export your trained model to ONNX, it's kind of this common model storage format, you can import it. So just sorry for that somewhat lengthy answer. We don't include current training tools. We integrate with a number of them. If you're looking to train a model and you don't know how to do that, like I think judges are happy to help, like provide some pointers to either like easy kind of UI wise, rudimentary training tools, or to some of the more, I'd say data sciencey, AI kind of engineering tools that people are using. Hope that answered that question, and I should have like clicked answered live and then done whatever, but I'll get through the questions. Can we use Java for project building? I would say yes, although that's not like one of the main languages of choice of our stack. Obviously, like SDKs and APIs, I guess you can consume from Java projects as well. I have to like personally admit that I'm not a big user of Java, so my mentoring skills, if it goes very deep into Java, would break down. But if it is your like language of choice that you're skilled with, I would say like, there's a bunch of things you can do. So I find it a bit challenging to like give the best answer to this question, because like at a very high level, yes, like, anything you can build in Java, you can build in different places. At a slightly more like, if you're like just doubting and you're equally skilled in say Java and C++, or like equally skilled in some of these things, I would say like maybe pick tools that are like more common in the toolkit and more common amongst our mentors. So I'd say it can be done both ways, but there's some advantages of choosing different tools. I open like Robin, maybe not if you feel differently there, but yeah, okay. Okay, one more question. Are we supposed to develop full stack application using Network Optix developer tools, or using any programming language that we know, sir? Look, obviously we would like people to build on our tools and experiment with our tools and like give feedback about our tools. So yes. On the other hand, so I would say like try to approach like the project from the user point of view. What am I providing? What's the business value that we're providing? And then think about how to build it using Nx tools, like using the Nx server on the edge device, using clients by like modifying the client to modify your UIs, these kind of things, using the AI manager. On the other hand, if you really get stuck or want to do something that you don't see how to actually use the tools to build it, and even after like shooting it by the judges or the mentors, there's no clear like path to like useful tools, which I would say is unlikely given the number of things that we are providing. But if there's none, those might just be good inspiration of things that we need to add to the toolkit. So don't be hindered by what you immediately see in the toolkit. Start with like the application, start with where you want to go functionally, and then try to match the tools with it, and reach out to the mentors if you're having a hard time matching the tools, and we'll take it from there. I think that's the preferred way of working. Now, kind of, because now I've chat questions and Q&A questions. So just to Rico, are there any things that I'm missing here?
And that kind of covers it all. I think there are some people who are dropping their question in the chat. I would request them to drop them in the Q&A section so that we can have better track of all the questions that are coming in.
Is there anything in the chat that I should be? Can we make a video quiz app? Yeah, presume you can. Like, think about how it works. And as you might have seen, like we're doing a lot of edge applications, like video cameras that are on location, scaling over multiple things. If it's a single site video quiz, maybe that's not the type of thing that we've been thinking about. On the other hand, that's why we do these hackathons, to get ideas that we've not been thinking about. So I would definitely not like disregard it as we go. Like, happy to learn more what you have in mind. Let's see. I guess I've attended to pretty much all of these questions that I now see. Like, raise your hand or something if I miss anything. Can we use common image classification models with Nx? Are there specific constraints? Obviously, like there's constraints with everything. So generally, we support OwnNX as an import, and pretty complete there. If you dig into the nitty gritty, like that ONX can be extended like by any user to build whatever they want. So obviously there's things that we can't deal with, but like ResNet, ImageNet, YOLO, these types of models, like these type of architectures will definitely support. So if those are the kind of classification models that you've been working with, it's a much larger set. But a lot of the common kind of image classification or object detection models that you'll find out in the literature will have experience with, and you should be able to just import. And there's a few things about Slack and whether we get Slack going. I can say hi here in Slack and see if I see there's like.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have been asking about Slack. So like I said earlier, our team has updated the Slack link on our hackathon microsite in both the overview section and the resource center. So if you're still not able to access the link, I'd suggest just quickly do a quick refresh of the microsite and try again. It should work out for you because we have already updated the link. So the reason it's not working for you right now is probably you're in the earlier session. So just do a quick F5 and try again. It should work for you. So I don't see any open question in the Q&A panel. So if you folks have any further question, just quickly drop them in the Q&A and we can take it up.
Okay, and if not, we'll be seeing you guys on Slack, I presume.
All right, so I don't see any open question right now. I think maybe we're gonna give them a couple more minutes to draft their questions if they have any, and if not, I think we can give them back their 15 minutes and head over to our Slack channel if we have any future questions.
Thank you. Thank you. I see people have gotten Slack word to work, so that's good. Then we're wrapping up, Nico, or are there any things like on the HackerEarth organization side that you want to share?
Yeah, I think we can wrap up for now. I don't see any open questions. So thanks a lot, Maurice, for the wonderful insight on the hackathon themes and what you do at Network Optix here. I think we have just one last question here in the chat. So Gokulnath is asking, are the tools free and where to access the developer tools?
Oh, yeah. So there's a lot of links to these resources, both on the HackerEarth page and in this slide deck. So we'll share those. I'll just share a link to the slide deck in the in Slack. I guess that's the
And
easiest thing.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
I was just telling them that they can just quickly head over to the resource center of our hackathon page and everything's rightly available there. I think we have one more question in the chat.
Yeah, I just want to get back. Like, are these like yes, they're obviously the developer tools are free. We do have a model where if we scale up to thousands of devices, there is a license fee per device at some point. But like within the hackathon and also very far beyond the hackathon, you will not be incurring any cost, obviously. And is it necessary to integrate AI into solutions or make applications that don't require AI, such online conference apps? Oh, well, those are already like two questions. So there you can always have this debate about, you know, what exactly is AI and whether it's machine learning or blah blah. We do, I think about like applications where it's not just people looking at these streams. Although, like, if that's where you start or you want to start, I wouldn't necessarily like disregard like that as a starting point. Because even if you're making a conference app, which you can think of, oh, we're just doing these video streams and whatever, you might at some point try to tack on top of that whomever is speaking is the one that's like largest in view, for example. So now you have to recognize who's speaking. You might use AI or ML to actually do this. You might be auto summarizing some of the things that people are saying. You might like tag a whole lot of like, I'd say AI, like I don't want to go into the definitions there, on top of those video streams. So it's fine to start from an application where you don't necessarily start with the AI. Even in the security world, historically, like our first applications of some of these security VMSs weren't using AI at all. And then it came to like motion detection, which was done like using traditional machine learning and just relatively rudimentary algorithms, to now like AI being used quite extensively in these applications. So it's fine to start your brainstorming or start your like application ideation from a point where it's not necessarily AI driven. It might be interesting at some point during the project to think about how to use some of these machine learning or AI tools on top of it. But don't let me don't let me hinder your ideation by saying it needs to be an AI application, basically. What we need to submit in our idea, so that I think that's fairly clearly described in the submission guidelines. So please review those. Is there any templates for the PowerPoint presentation? No, I think you're good to go. Free to do whatever you want to present there.
I think if you're looking for a template, Gopalnath, I think it's also in the submission guide page. So we have a structure that we have mentioned in the submission guide. So if you follow that structure, I think you should be good to go. So with that being said, I don't see any open question here in the chat panel. So once again, thank you, Maurits, for taking up this wonderful session. And thank you all for joining us here today this morning. So we are already halfway through the idea phase of the hackathon. We have about 14 more days to go. So all the best with your submission and may the best idea get shortlisted for the project phase. This is me, Rico, signing off for the day. And I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye
Thank you,
and
guys.
adios. Thank you
Bye
all.
bye.